Hello, fellow true crimers. It is Crime with Ashley, and I'm Ashley, and I am finally back with another video. And I am so sorry that I have been away, and I have missed you guys so much. So the case that I have for you today is going to be my last case of 2020, and it finally kind of got solved in 2019. So I think it's a great case to go ahead and end the year with. And also it has one of my favorite celebrities kind of intertwined. So we're going to go ahead and get into this case about the Hollywood Ripper. So our case is going to start in 1993, and the Hollywood Ripper, or Michael Thomas Gargiulo, who was born February the 15th, 1976, and he's also known as the Chiller Killer, the Boy Next Door, and just plain old killer. So he was finally arrested in Santa Monica on June 6, 2008. But we're going to go back again to 1993 and talk about his very first victim, Trisha Picaccio. So Trisha Picaccio was a beautiful and bright girl who had her entire life ahead of her, and she was tragically killed when she was only 18 years old in Glenview, Illinois. And she was killed just because she was Gargiulo's neighbor. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call him Ripper just because I don't know if I'm even saying his last name right. So she was the Ripper's neighbor. And her family had known him since he was in the second grade. He'd grown up on a house on their street. And when he finally got old enough, because he was only a couple years older than Trisha, I believe, or at least in her same age bracket, he brutally stabbed her. And Trisha was born January 18th, 1975, and she was killed on August 14th, 1993. And on August 13th, it was herself and her best friend, Karen Jones, as well as a lot of their senior class, because she had graduated and she was due to go to Purdue University in just a couple of days after her murder. And they were going to go on a scavenger hunt for a last hurrah kind of thing because, you know, they were all going to be going to college very soon. So they went on a scavenger hunt, and it ended about 1 a.m. And police believe that Trisha was walking to her door around 1 a.m. with the keys in her hand when the killer grabbed her left arm, twisted it, broke it, and stabbed her 12 times. And the sickest part about Trisha is 4 years after her murder, her family had already moved from the house and moved back home because even though they at first couldn't bear to be in the house, you know, it was their family home and they needed to be there. Michael the Ripper came to their house and knocked on the door and asked to talk to Trisha's father, Rick Picaccio, and he wasn't there at the time, and her mother asked if he would like to wait, and he waited there for an hour. And before Rick even got there, the Ripper's the Ripper's sister and father showed up and came in through the garage door, you know, because they'd known the family since their kid was in the second grade, so they were pretty close. And they were like, we got to go home now. And he didn't even get to talk to Rick. And she didn't know what he wanted to talk to him about. And she still doesn't know to this day what he wanted to talk to him about because he hasn't said. Rick actually was the one who discovered Trisha on the landing. She was splayed there, and as I said, she was stabbed 12 times, and he found her just after sunrise the next morning when he had opened up his door. And it has been a traumatic event for him and his family, of course. But moving on to the second victim, and her name is Ashley Ellerin, and she is a little bit more high profile than Trisha because she was actually dating a celebrity at the time, like I mentioned, and she was 22 years old, and she was actually due to go for dinner and drinks with Ashton Kutcher the night of her murder, and he actually testified in the trial against Gargiulo, and he said that he was hours late and that he actually felt really terrible that he was so late because he was the one who knocked on her door, and when he looked in, he saw what he thought was red wine on the floor, but looking back, people, you know, investigators, himself, me, think that it was really blood, and, you know, he just thought it was red wine because what what are you going to do? He just thought she was mad at him and she wasn't coming to the door. So he just kind of left it at that. And Ashley was beautiful and funny, and she was very well connected around in her life. She was a model. She liked to attend parties, but she had a very, very good head on her shoulders. She had just met Ashton 2 months before this happened at a friend's birthday party, and they hit it off. She was actually in school for fashion. I couldn't find the exact school that she attended. I think that she just took maybe classes for this because she did model. Like it seemed like kind of a full-time thing maybe, but she did go to school and she did have a very bright future ahead of her, and it was snatched. And I know that her murder was his most brutal. Every single video, you guys, I have to struggle to say at least one word, and this week it's going to be brutal. So, Ashley Ellerin was born on July 16, 1978, and she was killed on February 21st, 2001. And here's the thing. She was stabbed 47 times. She was stabbed so badly that part of her skull had came off and was laying next to her body, and her chest was caved in. She was hardly recognizable. And it said that he was a convicted rapist as well as a murderer, but there wasn't any evidence of a sexual assault on her body that anybody could tell from what I could see, because I looked for that and there wasn't really a sexual assault that I could see on any of them, but their murders were all so brutal. I don't think he had time to really sexually assault them. It was just kind of a in the moment, I'm gonna kill somebody kind of thing. But it did say he was a convicted rapist, and I did want to say that since she was found in her house, maybe he did sexually assault her, and maybe that's why she was stabbed 47 times. I don't know. Because she didn't want him or something like that. I don't know. Just speculation on my part. But we're gonna go to the third victim. Sorry, you guys always know I gotta have my notebook. But we're gonna go to the third victim, Maria Bruno. And she was born on November 10th, and it doesn't really say a year, but she was pretty young, in her early 20s. She actually was killed December 1st in 2005 in El Monte, California, because she was also a neighbor of 10 days before, and her husband actually had custody of all 4 of her children at the time of her murder, and he was the one to discover her body. And it says that she was also stabbed multiple times, but I didn't get an exact number. But again, there was no sign of sexual assault on her body that I could see. And the last and final victim that he attempted to murder is Michelle Murphy. And she was a 37-year-old rock star, in my opinion, because he attempted to murder her this way. She says that she woke up in the middle of the night to a man straddling her, and he stabbed her about 7 or 8 times in her chest, and she was naked, and she had fought him off. And when she fought him off, he actually cut his hand because he was stabbing her with a serrated knife, like those knives that you use to cut bread with the edges, the serrated knives, the ones that obviously hurt really badly going in and out of your flesh. Yeah. So he cut his hand with that and injured himself, and that's actually how he ended up getting caught, because he injured himself and he left his DNA at the crime scene. And as she was fighting him off, she was begging and asking him why he was doing this, and he just ignored her until he went to the door, and the only thing that he said at all was, "I'm sorry," before he disappeared out the door. So as I said, because he left his DNA there, he was caught and, tried and sentenced, sort of, where he's still waiting on his sentence now, but I have a little bit of details in my notebook that I'm going to go ahead and read. And again, I do want to say really quick a disclaimer. I'm sorry if my reading from a notebook may annoy some people. I know a lot of YouTubers can just, not need to look around at things or whatnot, but I need to. I don't have the greatest memory. I try really hard to remember things, and I eventually do, but I really want to get everything right, and it just helps me to have a notebook. So thank you so much for just going with it and letting me do what I need to do to tell this story for you. So I'm going to go ahead and go for his sentencing and his trial and things like that. So his pretrial hearing was on June 9th, 2017. But hold up, wait. First, let me go back. So he was arrested in Santa Monica by Santa Monica police on June 6, 2008. And on June 7, 2011, Cook County charged him with first-degree murder for Trisha Picaccio. But then, going to the California murders that he did for Ashley and Maria, the pretrial hearing for that was on June 9, 2017 in Los Angeles Superior Court. The trial was scheduled for October 2017, but after delays, his trial finally did begin May 2nd, 2019. And he was finally, on August 15, 2019, convicted of all counts. His sentencing has been delayed, but the death penalty has been mentioned and is on the table for him because he's already been convicted of one first-degree murder when it comes to Trisha Picaccio, and he's already killed 2 others that we know of and attempted a 4th. And clearly he's a danger to society as well as probably himself, so he doesn't need to be on the streets, and maybe he should exit the world a little bit sooner. That's why the death penalty is on the table. So everybody, that pretty much is the Hollywood Ripper. Ashton Kutcher ended up testifying in the trial, like I said. He just basically said what he was supposed to be doing that night and his relationship with Ashley and everything. He didn't have a super big part, you know. They had only been dating for a little while. They weren't long term or anything. But he was in the trial, and it was just last year that he was in the trial in 2019. So it was a pretty big ordeal. So I heard the story about the Hollywood Ripper, and even though he only, that we know of, has killed 3 and attempted a 4th, there could be other victims out there because these were such violent and brutal attacks that were kind of spaced out so far apart. Who knows how many other victims he could have, because he never confessed to any of these. He was just tried for them due to evidence found at each crime scene and his connection to each victim, because he was a neighbor of all of them. I mean, he was present in each vicinity of the victim. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that in all these different places from Illinois to California that this guy is present and people are being murdered. So let me know what you think below about the death penalty. Let me know what you think below about the case and how I told the story. I am still, like I said, a work in progress, and I'm so sorry that I had a long absence. I've been very, very sick, like I said. Health problems were kind of preventing me a little bit, but I'm back and better than ever, and I can't wait to keep doing I can't wait to keep doing cases for you guys and practicing my speech and not messing up like I just did and embarrassing myself on camera. Yeah. I love you guys so much, all 74 of you. 74 that you guys haven't left me even though I was MIA for like 2 weeks. I am so sorry. Have a nope, it's already not Christmas. Happy holidays, because it is about to be New Year's. Goodness, maybe in 2021 I'll really learn how to pronounce things, because when I just talk so fast, it just doesn't come out right. So anyways, it's about to be 2021, so happy holidays. Like I said, this is probably going to be my last video for 2020, but I do have some other videos coming up for 2021 because I want to get back in the swing of things. Also, if you've made it to this point, I love you so much. Please, please, please like my video, and if possible, you could share my video to any friends that you might know that have true crime interest or that might like to hear a story. You could share me on social media, but most of all, if you just like my video, it is a free way to help me out, and it would really help me out because all the likes I get basically promote my channel, and it's a very small channel because I just started it, and I really want to get as much exposure as I can because I do want constructive criticism, but I do want to keep going in this community because I do enjoy being in it. So thank you so much. This has been Crime with Ashley, and again, I hope you enjoyed the case. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.